Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on magic design. I'm Tim.
And I'm Bass.
The new Doctor Who decks came out, and I don't know anything about Doctor Who. I do like reading magic cards, though. So, Bass, when you reached out and you said you want to talk a little bit about these decks, I was eager to talk to you about it. What's your kind of relationship to Doctor Who? What are your favorite Doctor, maybe? Or what's your interest in these decks?
Doctor Who is something that I kind of missed me by when I was a kid because, you know, I was the kid during the dark age of Doctor Who. There was a period where Doctor Who got cancelled.
Oh, no.
And then a friend of mine who always loved Doctor Who I grew up with, I've known him since I was 5, and he told me, Bass, I saw this episode of Doctor Who. It was incredible. And I went, is it really? He went, yes, you've got to watch it. And it was called Blink, which is... If you haven't seen... Have you seen Blink, Tim?
I know of it. I have not seen it.
So Blink is the episode every Doctor Who fan, if they want to get someone into Doctor Who, they say, watch Blink. It is not only probably the best Doctor Who episode, it is one of the best episodes of TV. It's so good, Blink. I watched that episode and I went, is all Doctor Who this good? So I tuned in for the next week's episode and it was pigmen in Manhattan. And I was like, okay, so the answer is no. This exists on a sine wave of quality like Star Trek. I didn't really watch more than just a handful of episodes until another friend of mine sold me on the 11th Doctor. He sold me on the first episode of that. And I watched the first episode of the 11th Doctor, and it was so good, called The 11th Hour. And since that episode, I've just loved Doctor Who. So 11 is my first Doctor, and he's my favourite. I think 12, Capaldi might be the best Doctor.
Okay.
When you watch Capaldi, you feel like he was Matt Smith, and he was David Tennant, and he was Will Hartnell, and he was... you feel like he was all the Doctors, whereas everyone else feels like their own version of the Doctor, right? We had after him the 13th Doctor, who I was watching Flux earlier today. I love the 13th Doctor.
Oh, okay.
I think she's great.
So Doctor Who, I actually don't know what's the genre of it is. It's just sort of like it takes place sort of in like a realistic world. Like you have phones, you have cars, you have whatever else.
Yeah.
But then there's sort of time travel, and there also seems to be a lot of fantasy elements, definitely a lot of sci-fi. How would you explain how that works?
It's supposed to be set in our world.
Yeah.
And then the Doctor just sort of waltzes in, and he's a time-traveling alien. And he just he walks in and is like, where do you want to go this week? And so it's an anthology episode show that is sometimes horror, it's sometimes comedy, it's sometimes social drama. So, but by and large, it's an action show.
Doctor Who is almost a similar genre to like Star Trek, where it's like, here's a different culture every episode. We have to solve a problem. The main character's development is not that important compared to what you see every episode.
Yeah, and also there's a sort of fluidness to the continuity. So one of the jokes I keep making about Doctor Who is, has Earth been invaded by aliens or hasn't it? Because every Doctor is coming to Earth in the present day, and they get new companions. So every new Doctor gets new companions, and those companions are from the present day, and the present day keeps shifting.
Sure.
But they got invaded. Like the third Doctor had alien invasions. The 12th Doctor had alien invasions. So why is the 13th Doctor's companions not aware of alien invasions?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's not a question you need to ask. It's just fun. There's a kind of soft reboot every time there's a new Doctor.
Yeah.
There is a certain continuity to it. For example, if you think about Star Trek, if Data gets emotions, Data has emotions.
Okay.
But then other characters fall in love for one episode, and then they're not in love, and then the next episode they're like complaining about women troubles and how they can't get a date. You know, that happens too, right? Certain things can be reset at the end of an episode or the end of an era or a season, and other things persist, and it's kind of down to the showrunners what they want to keep and what they don't. It's like comics as well. Comics do that. It's what happens when you have a generational single continuity that just keeps going.
Yeah,
Like
I
you
think
can't.
of like the Wikipedia page for Cyclops from X-Men
Right.
because
Yeah.
he's been in, let's say, I don't know, 300 plot lines.
Yes.
Like then
Yes.
the number of alien invasions he has had to deal with, the number of times a politician has decided that they have to do something about the mutant menace has maybe
Yes.
been more than 50 times for him. We're dealing with kind of like selective continuity, like vibe continuity. It's fun to have a callback.
Vibe continuity.
Remember when the 12th Doctor is dealing with a situation that the 4th Doctor had to deal with, and if you saw both of
Yeah.
those episodes, you'd say, "Aha! I remember that part."
Vibe continuity is such a good term. I'm going to steal it. I love
There we
it.
go.
It has vibe continuity, but the other thing is, when it comes to the Doctor often references previous things because they're a time traveler. There are times where, yes, you're quite right. The Doctor sort of like steps on the coattails of what previous Doctor did, and if you think about it, they don't actually connect. But then there's other times where they do the exact opposite, and they take advantage of the past and use that to generate something like where the Doctor encounters his past self. I think the 12th Doctor met the first Doctor when they're both regenerating. That was a really fun way to send off the 12th Doctor. They do both, but vibe continuity, I think, is the best term I've ever heard. It's perfect. It's vibe continuity. You just vibe. What people are really resonating with stays in canon and is remembered, and what people forget, it's okay if the writers don't bother bringing it up. Like everyone kind of is okay with it. It's like, okay, yeah, we don't want you to be locked into this thing that no one really likes, right?
Alrighty. Yeah,
And
yeah. You keep what just kind of feels good and get rid of everything else. Yeah,
it's vibe continuity. Absolutely, that's it.
Alrighty, well, maybe we can talk about a couple cards. You can help fill me in on maybe some of the flavor of some of these different doctors, some of these characters. There are other non-doctor characters. There are a million of them.
So the first card I kind of want to talk about is when I saw it, this is perfect. It's the card Decaying Time Loop, which is a red instant, which you discard all the cards in your hand, and then you draw that many cards, and it has Retrace, which is you can cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a land card. It's perfect. It's a Decaying Time Loop. Your hand gets smaller every time you cast it, but you can keep casting it again and again. The fact that you discard cards means you will discard the lands you need to play the next time loop.
Yeah.
But the episode,
yeah, tell me about this.
This is such a great premise for an episode. It's a time loop episode, like Groundhog Day, right?
Okay.
But the loop keeps shrinking. There's a certain thing where they can't rewrite the loop prior to when they spawn in the next one. If someone's going to die at a certain point, they have to change that before the loop shrinks and that becomes fixed. There's actually a whole anime based on the same premise called Summertime Rendering, and it's a wonderful way of doing the time loop to give it tension. The funny thing about this card, though, I was watching Flux today, which is the 13th Doctor's last series.
Okay.
If you look on the card of Decaying Time Loop, the Doctor is in the center of the image. She's running from Daleks. And on the right-hand side of the card is one of her companions, Yasmin. And on the other side of the card is another one of her companions called Dan. Dan's first appearance is in the Flux. But I thought this episode happened before the Flux. So I'm kind of trapped in a bit of a time loop myself because I can't remember when this episode happens. Does this happen in the Flux? I can't remember when this I don't know now I'm really confused. I love it.
You said the 13th is the 13th Doctor. What sets the 13th Doctor apart, like character-wise, like personality-wise?
What sets her apart really is the fact that the 13th Doctor is the most vulnerable of them all.
Oh. The
13th Doctor has her fam. She calls them her fam.
Okay.
Because she has a bunch of companions. She's not... Normally the Doctor has one companion. She has 3 or 4, and yet she feels the most lonely and vulnerable of all the Doctors. She just feels like she's holding on by her fingernails to relationships. She acts so gregarious and just like, come on, fam, and she's hugging everyone, and but then there's this thing where if when it's as if when no one's looking at her, she just feels like there's a chasm between her and the people next to her. And she's so isolated from them, alienated from them. That's to me, that's what makes her so special, is that she is the one who most needs an emotional connection and most feels like she doesn't have it with the people around her.
So kind of knowing that
Yeah.
they're kind of doomed as a doctor because you're going to go away at some point. You're going to regenerate and turn into someone else.
Yeah. Well, it's the contrast between that and the fact that she is so... She's got this platinum blonde, chavvy, fun, bubbly personality. There's this wonderful bit where I fell in love. The bit that really made me fall in love with her was she's talking to a Dalek who's trying to destroy the world. And she goes, final warning, because I'm nice. And she does this smile, and I was okay. We're done. That is the Doctor, right? Doesn't matter who's playing the Doc. That's the Doctor right there. She nailed it.
I guess the doctors are meant to. They have to built like a normal person. They don't have like Captain America strength or whatever.
No, they have 2 hearts and they can regenerate. That's it.
Oh, okay. They have 2 hearts. That's cool. And they have like a magic screwdriver or whatever. But
yeah,
you can tell how little I know.
I love it.
But they always have to deal with a problem and be ready to take on this challenge despite always being kind of out of their depth, or maybe they kind of know what they're doing, but they don't always know everything. So they have to, this person is facing down a Dalek, which is like a murder machine, and final warning, like you talk to a toddler.
One of the interesting things about the Doctor that I think maybe Americans wouldn't pick up on is that the Doctor is very, very subversive in a cultural way for British, because they often cover themselves in very British iconography, and then the 12th Doctor is this fierce Scottish guy. There's also lots of ribbings about that wouldn't be there. Like, you have the 12th Doctor who's Scottish, the 13th Doctor is from Huddersfield and Sheffield, and that aesthetic is often very loud, bleached blonde, chavvy people that you would see, I guess, in The Only Way is Essex, that kind of feeling.
That doesn't mean anything to me. I don't know what chavvy means either.
I guess that's like the equivalent of Jersey Shore or something.
Oh, okay.
So she kind of has an aesthetic that is a bit like that, a very sort of loud, almost, I guess, abrasive kind of thing, but she's a very sweet, quiet character.
Alrighty. Maybe we can get a little bit of that 12th Doctor. I'll read this one, Heaven Sent, and then you could fill us in on what it means. This is a blue and a red for a saga. Chapters 1 and 2 investigate. Chapter 3, this is kind of interesting one. Heaven Sent deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then if an opponent has 0 or less life, draw 7 cards. Otherwise, exile Heaven Sent and you may cast it this turn. Let's recap what this means, because it's a little funny. So I get to investigate a couple times, and that deals 1 to each opponent. And then if that was lethal damage, draw a bunch of cards. Otherwise, you just get to cast this again and investigate some more.
Yep.
I could tell this must be an important episode, because there's a Grim Reaper in the background and the 12th Doctor and some kind of ominous looking object in the foreground.
When Gavin announced the set and said that each Doctor is getting a saga around one of their key episodes, I knew the 12th Doctor was going to either be Heaven Sent or his Mondasian Cyberman episode at the very end of his run. It was one of those two. The premise of the episode is the Doctor, his companion, Clara, has died. And he wants to go back and save her. And he's not allowed to. It's a fixed point in time. He's not allowed to save her. The episode opens and he sort of transports to where he was heading in the previous episode. And he arrives there. And it's a castle and it's completely empty. And he starts wandering around the castle looking for things. And then this Grim Reaper thing shows up. And when it touches him, it burns him and he dies. And Doctors Time Lords don't die, they regenerate, and it takes time for them to die sometimes. And he crawls his way back up, plugs himself into the machine that he beamed down from, And when he gets killed, he remembers that he beamed himself into this thing. He puts his patent back into the machine and beams a copy of himself who doesn't remember the previous loop.
Another loop?
Yeah, so he's basically, there's all these clues that you didn't pick up the first time that the Doctor has been in this place before, and he's been doing this for centuries. It's really great. It's really well done.
So he set up a thing for himself to like get tortured or something?
It's kind of like that, and the whole point is if he does it long enough, eventually he will get out the other side of this torture device and get to the people that he's after.
So if we look at this card again here, you show up, you investigate twice, and then everyone takes a little bit of damage and you start over again.
Exactly. Yeah, because what happens is the thing that's sort of blocking him from getting out of the castle is this big wall of diamond, and he punches it once, then he dies.
All right.
Resets it, goes back down, punches it a second time, he dies, and if he keeps punching it like that over and over again, eventually he'll wear through the wall. So you go in, you get 2 clues because you look around, then you remember what the hell's going on.
You do 1 damage.
And then the Heaven Sent dies, comes back, and does it all over again until they're dead. Until you. Right?
Alrighty.
So it's just great.
This is how it makes sense that what is the connection between dealing 1 damage and having that be lethal? Is because it's like a thing that's supposed to be extremely hard to do.
Yeah, it's
so it's 40 life. What's the chance that this one thing will matter? Well, if you do it 40 times, maybe it would matter. And that's sort of like this endless prison that he's in.
The phrase he uses is a bird that pecks at a mountain. If the mountain finally is eroded by the bird, that's the first second of eternity.
In the story, it's something that's nearly impossible. And that's why in the game, it's also nearly impossible.
And the whole Grim Reaper, so the castle in that thing, in the picture at the bottom, the castle.
Is that what that is? Okay.
Yeah, you can see that it's a river around it.
Oh.
Yeah?
It looks like a metal disc. Oh, it's water around it. Oh, like a moat.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So in the episode, he jumps out the castle to get away from the Grim Reaper and falls into the water, and there's skulls at the bottom.
Okay. These are all his other skulls?
These are all his other skulls. And
there we go. Very sick.
As you see the other loops, the skulls grow and grow and grow. There's more and more and more of them. And then, so at the beginning, there's very few. And by the end of the episode, it's almost just a lake of skulls. That's how long he's been in there.
That's cool. All right, we got a whole bunch more cards to get through, so let's talk about another one here. Do you want to read this one?
The cyber conversion. It's an instant that turns a creature face down, and now it's a 2/2 Cybermen artifact creature. I love it. Because the Cybermen assimilate people, they turn them into Cybermen.
Okay.
And so turning them face down, so there are 2/2, and now there are 2/2s. It's better than killing them and replacing them with a token. The fact that you take the card and you turn it face down, and now you are just blank and you're 2/2.
That helps with the flavor of like the real person's still in there. We're going to save the card, that kind of thing.
I love how elegant, how simple it is. I almost feel like they don't need to have it's a 2/2 Cyberman artifact creature. I think it'd just be turn target creature face down and then reminder text, it's a 2/2 creature. You can turn it face up if it has a morph cost or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you could have a Cyberman legend that says all your face down creatures are artifact Cyberman creatures.
Okay. I think there's another legend that like mills and makes a bunch of Cybermen this way, like a bunch of face down Cybermen. So I think in that case, it's kind of nice that like all of the Cybermen cards all turn them into artifact creatures. So it's like really clear that these are all connected, at least from my point of view, where I don't necessarily know the lore as well.
Yeah, I think you could make a case either way, and I don't think either way is wrong.
Yeah. Is Cyberman a term from the 70s? That feels a little goofy to me, at least today.
Okay, here's how goofy the Cybermen are. Okay. The Cybermen used to have a weakness to gold.
Oh, that's very okay. That's definitely 70s or 60s or something.
Yeah, that used to be their weakness. A friend of mine He once said that it really jumped the shark when they just started throwing gold nuggets at them, and that killed them. It was like at first it was gold dust or something had to get in through the armor, but then it was just like you throw gold rocks at these advanced Cybermen and they're dead. The 12th Doctor, the guy who played him, Peter Capaldi, he really loved the very original Cybermen, which were called the Mondasian Cybermen. And they were kind of just people with like headphones and a sock over their face.
Okay.
The showrunner, Stephen Moffat, went, I know you like them, Peter, but there's like on a panel I can mention, but I don't think people are going to be scared by a person with a sock on their face. Big reveal at the end of the 13th Doctor's run. The villains were the Mondasian Cybermen.
Okay.
I would argue the sock version that they did, the prototype version of them, they had them with the sock on and everything. They rebuilt that old costume, was the scariest Cybermen they've ever done.
Oh, okay.
They nailed it. They nailed it perfectly because they made that image look like they were hospital patients. And there's this real gruesome imagery to it, and it's sort of body horror to it, and then they've got this horrible voice, I was waiting for like that, and they just the Mondasian Cybermen episode doesn't really get as much traction as I thought it would. It's such a great two-parter.
Cool.
So it's great, but this is such a good Cyberman thing. I love it. It's so well done.
Maybe I'll read this next one. This is our first of what I might call our weird alien cards.
Yeah, I want to do both of these together, actually.
Oh, okay.
We've got the Renegade Silent, which is a creature that when you end your turn, it goes up to one creature you don't control, and it puts a +1/+1 counter on itself, and then it phases out.
So basically, during all your opponent's turn, it doesn't exist. It only exists on your turn. And it also goads something, so it scares somebody, I guess.
It forces someone to attack, and the phrase "silence will fall." And then the other one is the Weeping Angel, which is an artifact creature that has flash, first strike, vigilance. Whenever an opponent casts a creature, the Weeping Angel is no longer a creature, and if it would deal combat damage to a creature, it prevents that damage and shuffles the creature into its owner's library. It banishes things it touches. It's got like shuffle touch, I guess, instead of death touch.
These are the angels that they're statues that if you're looking at them, they don't move, and then when you look away, now they can.
Or if you blink, don't even blink. If you blink, they'll get you. But here's the thing about them: the way they get you is they don't kill you. They send you into the past and then feast on the time that you never had in the future.
All right.
Right? If you're going to live to be 80 and the angel gets you when you're 30, they get 50 years of like temporal energy out of it.
Okay.
And they send you like 50 years into the past or 100 years into the past. So that's why the Weeping Angel, when it touches something, it doesn't die. It gets shuffled into the deck. And it's also why it turns into a statue. If you cast anything, it just... And it's got flash because if you blink, it's there.
Yeah.
The Silent... If you stop looking at them, you forget that they were there.
Okay.
And so in the Silent episodes, they'll look down at their arm and they'll see black marks on their arm where they've like written 1, 2, 3, 4, and then put the line through for 5, and then 6, 7, like prisoners do on walls. So they'll look down at their arm and they'll see those markings and they go, when did I do that? They'll look up to their friend and go, when did I do that? Then they look back and then there's another mark on their arm. And it's because they're making a mark when they see a Silent, but then they look away and forget they did it. And so it's really creepy that that's how the Silents work.
Oh, okay.
And that's why this thing phases out.
Yeah.
The other thing that Silents do, they can go. They can kind of tell you to do things, and then you forget they told you. The Doctor famously uses that ability against them by recording a Silent that says, you should kill us all on sight, and then he broadcasts that to the world so humans are subconsciously told by the Silents to kill the Silents.
There we go.
That's why they goad. That's what these two cards do. I really like them. What do you think?
Yeah, they're both kind of troublemakers, more so than a game plan.
Yeah.
The angel is like as an attacker, it's just going to deal a little damage every turn. It has vigilance, so it gets to do that whenever it wants.
And you love vigilance.
And then it's kind of, yeah, one of the beacon's signatures is loving vigilance. So I guess I can't be against the card then.
Yeah.
And then as a blocker, I can basically prevent it from blocking by casting a creature spell. And if I don't do that, then it sort of has like Death Touch. The Silent, I think, is just kind of like a fun card, a little bit of goading.
Yeah.
It becomes a little bit of a bigger threat, so I feel like maybe it has more of a chance to impact ending the game than the Angel does. But I from those descriptions, I can kind of see how they like really closely fit the mechanics of the creatures in the show, which is maybe more important than like making sure each one of these cards is like a game plan or like a big threat in itself.
If this wasn't the flavored as the Weeping Angel, I would just be, this is too much text.
Absolutely, yeah.
Same with that Silent, like, does it need to phase out?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I'm glad you've done it this way, because I love how these two things, they nailed the little gimmicks of these monsters.
Yeah.
However, what I was thinking was, obviously, they can't do this, but my mind went to the world of Silver Border.
Sure.
And I just thought, what would Silver Border versions of these look like? Because we have Cheaty Face and we have Stone Cold Basilisk. So if people don't remember, Cheaty Face is a card that if your opponent doesn't notice that you've snuck it onto the battlefield, then it's on the battlefield. Like, you can cast it without saying anything anytime you want from your hand for free. And if they don't notice, you've cast it. But if they do notice, then you lose Cheaty Face. And Stone Cold Basilisk is a card that turns a player to stone if they read it. Like, I feel like the Cheaty Face mechanic is perfect for a Weeping Angel instead of Flash. Like, if you can just put the Weeping Angel on the table without anyone noticing, you've cast the Weeping Angel. They blinked. They didn't see it. They blinked.
Yeah, I guess one of maybe the tricky things translating established horror monsters into Magic.
Yeah.
In the fiction, they're extremely terrifying. They're very scary.
Oh, yeah.
But when you have like game mechanics that work a specific way, it's hard to be afraid of that, right? You know what the exact rules are.
Yes.
And what's the worst that this Weeping Angel can do? I can look at this card, draw on my experience, and know what's the worst it can do, and I'm not that scared of it.
Yeah, there's going to be a point where someone attacks with a Weeping Angel or a Silent, and you go, okay.
I take 3. Cool.
Yeah. That's okay, I think.
And you kind of detach from from that kind of stuff when you're actually figuring out in the game, oh, my opponent's at 11. Yeah. I've got this doctor that has 4 power. What do I do with that? Like, you're not quite as concerned about your immersion at that point. You're more concerned in like maybe trying to win the game.
It's replaced with the fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's what you're there. If you really wanted to get immersed in those things, you just watch the episode again.
Yeah, there you go. Anyhow,
speaking of weird cards, Psychic Paper is a great weird card.
We got 2 artifacts in a row here. We got Psychic Paper, which at least from my first glance this is the goofiest thing I've ever seen. But it's 2 mana for an artifact equipment. As Psychic Paper becomes attached to a creature, choose a creature card name and a creature type.
Yeah.
Equipped creature has Ward 1. It can't be blocked. And its name and creature type are the last chosen name and creature type as equipped 2.
Yeah. Do you get at all what this is doing?
This feels like a universal disguise. Like, I'm able to just like say, oh, I'm in the police. Oh, I am a fire chief. Oh, I work for the government.
It's even better than that. So the Psychic Paper, the doctor will hold it up. The way it works is the person who's looking at the Psychic Paper sees what they want to see in terms of an authority figure. So the doctor will go, you're all going to have to take orders from me now, and flips open their wallet, and then they go, oh my god, you're the president of the FBI or whatever, right? The doctor doesn't know. All right, they just know that they're going to be in a position of authority. So there are times where like the doctor will flip it open and they go, really, you're from? It's like, I guess so, yeah. Now listen. Like, they don't even know what department it is. They've never heard of it. But they have to play along. And of course, it lets them get in wherever they want to go. So that's why they can't be blocked. They are in an incredibly important position, so they have Ward 1. You can't just take them out. The prop is literally what the card is showing you, which is a wallet with a black piece of paper in it.
It has very custom Magic vibes. It looks just like it was cut out of a still from the show. Yeah.
That's it. That's all it is. I love it. It's so good. This card. This card is so silly. I love this card. You just flash it and say, "Yep, I'm actually Memnarch,
and I'm a cat."
Yeah, exactly. They go, "Wow, I guess we better let you through, sir." Memcat, please.
Meowmnarch.
Meowmnarch. There we go.
All right, our next paper-based Doctor Who artifact here.
River Song's Diary.
Yeah.
Spoilers. So this is an artifact that imprints. Whenever someone casts an instance or sorcery spell from their hand, you imprint it on the diary. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 4 or more cards exiled with the diary, one of them is cast for free at random. And that is another wacky... Like, when you're playing casual Magic, you want random wacky things to happen, and the fact that this steals everyone's spells and starts casting completely random things is very cool.
It kind of takes a little while to charge up, because it sort of has to see 4 spell casts while it's on the battlefield.
Well, you've got to have adventures that you've written down in the diary.
Yeah.
River Song is a character who's time traveling in the reverse order to the Doctor, so they keep meeting up at opposite points. So the first time the Doctor meets River is the day she dies. They kind of have a relationship backwards through time. So that's why it's random. She keeps showing up at random moments in random order. These events happen in the past and they get cast at a random time again. It's a really nice way of reflecting what the diary does.
Yeah. And that book looks like a TARDIS, is that correct?
It is. It's meant to look like the TARDIS. And speaking of the TARDIS, the next card...
That's a segue.
Is Start the TARDIS. That is a segue. Start the TARDIS. When I saw this card, I immediately said, every time I play this, I will make the sounds of the TARDIS.
Give me the sound. I want to hear the sound.
Why have you made me do that?
Are you making a sound? I think the noise cancellation is killing it.
Oh, that's even more. Oh, well, there you go. You can't hear it. It's too good. I sound so much like the TARDIS, you can't hear it.
I'm being hit with like silent technology now, and I'm forgetting every time I hear the sound.
I did it twice.
Discord doesn't want us to hear it.
I love that. I think that's just... So the card, Start the TARDIS, is a little sorcery that you surveil to, then you draw a card, then you can planeswalk, and it has Jumpstart, which is a nice mechanic. You can card graveyard by discarding a card.
Yeah.
It's such a small little elegant card and it's perfect. You surveil too because you pick where you want to go. You draw a card, then you get to planeswalk because, hey, you're traveling through time and space, and you can jumpstart it because the Doctor famously is not very good at piloting the TARDIS. In fact, the weird sound the TARDIS makes... In one episode, River Song says, it's not supposed to make that sound. It makes the sound because you leave the brakes on. So, the idea is the Doctor is essentially driving with their handbrake on everywhere they go. And they're just making the TARDIS do these grinding sounds because they don't really know how to fly the thing.
Yeah, I think I get that idea too, that this is like a goofy vehicle. I don't know anything that much about it, except it's like gigantic on the inside.
Yeah.
But the way that I sort of see this card is that this is trying to get you to planeswalk by providing like a pretty okay thing to do with your mana.
Yeah.
It's not integrated into your game plan. You're not like trying to planeswalk multiple times. That doesn't seem like a strategy that any of the decks care about. But it's just saying like, hey, you want to draw cards, you want to find a land, you want to find a not land. Okay, cool. But you also have to planeswalk while you do it.
There's an interesting sort of design thing here, which is none of the decks are essentially planeswalk decks. It's something that's just optional. But I love Plane Chase. There's a part of me that goes, well, if you make this purely for Plane Chase players as well? So I guess the play group shrinks even further. But then there's a part of me that goes, well, I know what it's like to have something you really like be aimed at a format you're not a fan of, what would we do here if we just went, these are plane chase now, and if you like plane chase, you should like this. If you like Doctor Who, you've got to accept plane chase as part of it.
We got 2 of them in the same year, so I think maybe they saw the opportunity between March of the Machine and Doctor Who here.
Oh yeah,
to have sort of the year of plane chase.
I feel like they're testing the waters to see how far they can push plane chase.
Yeah,
I would love a future where the buy a box topping comes with a plane for every set, and it's like, here's the Eldraine plane chase card. Every set where they're set, you get a plane.
Yeah, planes are kind of funny because you don't really own them as the player in a game. If I get like a cool artifact vehicle, I get to put that in my deck, and then when I cast that, that's part of what I get to do. So I feel good about putting that in a deck. Getting an extra plane might have like a sort of a feeling of like, yeah, I guess it's an extra random thing to happen in the planar deck, but the planar deck is already plenty random. I'm not looking forward to hitting that specific plane.
I mean, well, the thing is, plane chase, the official rules is everyone has their own 10-card planar deck.
Yeah, I know.
But most people just shuffle the big stack, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, if you're playing plane chase and you have the big stack, you just leave the big stack gets bigger. And if you want to curate it, you have more options to curate it. And if you want to have people build their decks around plane chase and have 15, instead of a sideboard, you have 15 planes. That could be the same way you do contraptions and attractions. You could do it that way. But I love this Start the TARDIS. It does everything you want a card like that to do, and it's so iconic.
And it's basically fine in the deck if you're not playing with planes. It's just like an okay filler card.
Yeah, exactly.
There's like a mana creature who also cares about planeswalking, and then the TARDIS cares about planeswalking, but it also gives you Cascade. So even if you're not planeswalking, you still feel okay playing with it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, our next card, we're actually back up onto some artifacts here. The Pandorica. You can imagine this is a box.
It is a box.
2 and a white for a legendary artifact, so an important box. You may choose not to untap it. 1 white and untap another target non-land permanent, then it phases out.
Mm-hmm.
And it can phase in, and if this becomes untapped, then it phases back in, blah, 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 as a sorcery.
Yeah. It banishes something until it untaps again.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sort of in the neighborhood of like an Oblivion Ring that you can reset.
Yep. The Pandorica is a centerpiece of the end of the 11th Doctor's first season. And it's all about what's in the Pandorica. That inside the Pandorica is the most a terrifying being. That everyone is scared of and has been trapped in the Pandorica. I mean, I don't want to say what happens because I don't want to give it away. It's really really good.
Okay.
The phasing out is really smart rather than exiling. I don't really know if it means anything that it's phased out. I guess it keeps everything that was on it.
It has one really big interaction, which is that if you Pandorica a commander, the victim can't opt to put it in the command zone, which they could if it was being exiled.
Is that the case? That makes perfect sense then.
You could lock out a commander, which you couldn't do with like an Oblivion Ring.
I didn't realize that interaction. Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense. I mean, it made sense in terms of flavor. Phasing out feels more... Exiling doesn't feel as trapped forever. The fact that there's that little mechanic is really smooth, actually.
It kind of leaves it the way it is, if that matters to the flavor. Like if it does have counters, if it does have equipment on it.
Yeah. So one of the things that one of the reasons you really can never escape the Pandorica is because you can't die if you're in it. It won't let you die. There's no way out, and you ever.
There you go. Well, that matters with the commander thing too, because your commander isn't dying when they go in the Pandorica.
Exactly. That's it. The commander doesn't die, so they can't leave the Pandorica. As soon as you said that, makes perfect sense why it's phasing out. Yeah, and also the fact that I knew that when you phase out, you keep everything attached to you, which makes sense that it's being preserved in some way. I love it. That's such a smooth little.
I guess if I was reading this, you gave me that flavor. I wouldn't necessarily have figured out the flavor from this. This feels like a tool someone has to imprison people, because it doesn't come with something imprisoned.
That's true.
Like when the Pandorica arrives, there's nothing inside of it. Like I don't really experience dread when I look at the Pandorica. Whereas like Hideaway or something would be a mechanic where something really bad is in there. I don't know what it is.
That's well, do you want me to tell you what's in the Pandorica?
Sure, maybe I'll bleep it out. If it
Okay. So what's in the Pandorica is
Oh, okay. All right, that makes more sense. Hmm. Hmm.
the whole thing collapses. Like he just realizes, oh, he's been played. It's great.
Okay. Well, if you, I retract my criticism of the mechanics of the Pandorica now that I know the answer. All right, our next card up here is Sally Sparrow.
Sally Sparrow.
2 white blue, so a Azorius kind of legendary creature here, human detective. You may cast creature spells as though they had flash.
Yep.
Whenever one or more creatures you control leave the battlefield, investigate once a turn. So 2/3. What I'd normally think of as kind of a green ability, being able to flash in creatures, and then a normal thing for a detective to do. Someone disappears, let's investigate.
Yeah. She's the main character of the Blink episode.
Yeah, I can see the statue there.
Yeah, it's the only episode she's in.
Oh.
Yeah, and she's one of the she's so beloved because of that one episode. She's played by Carey Mulligan, who's had quite a big career since then.
Oh, okay.
The character, she gets wrapped up in this story because the Weeping Angels send people she knows away, and so she's looking for them. And so that's why, and because of the way the Weeping Angels work, they send people through time. She'll meet someone, they'll disappear, and then she'll meet them again, and now they're 30 years older.
Because they've had to re-age into the current time.
Exactly. And so, again, just a flavor home run. And for me, I have like a Sherlock Holmes deck.
Okay.
I used Lavinia of the 10th as the commander because she arrests people. I might have to replace it with Sally.
All right. I was wondering how this got on the list, and because it's going to be your pocket commander, now it makes more sense. I'm understanding.
I love this episode. I love this character, and I love this card. And it's just if only it were green as well, so I could put all the green investigate stuff. But
yeah,
I've been wanting a proper detective character so I can put on my Dear Stalker and do Columbo impressions.
There you go.
This'll do.
All right, another kind of looks like kind of a goofball card here. All of history, all at once. Yes. This is 2 blue for a sorcery.
Yeah.
It has Storm, and then also has a newish mechanic, time travel. Yep. For each suspended card you own and each permanent you control with a time counter on it, you may add or remove a time counter.
So the fun thing is, when I first saw this card, I couldn't remember which episode it was from.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure the 11th and the 12th both have an episode where all of history collapses in on itself.
Oh.
I love the chaotic feel of this card, and I think time travel, when they announced the set, there was a card of the 10th Doctor, and it just said has his ability which lets him time travel 3 times.
Oh, okay.
And it didn't have the reminder text. And so there was a lot of speculation, what does time travel do? And I sort of sat there and looked at it, and I went, I bet you it's like clock spinning, but for time counters.
That's the buyback card that does kind of the same thing as this.
Yeah, and it's reprinted in the set. Time travel is such an important part of Doctor Who, and it is such a complicated thing. And to find such an abstract, elegant mechanic that is easily repeatable and can appear on lots of cards is so brilliant. Not only that, it's intuitive, because I didn't know what the mechanic did, and I imagined what it must do based on the templating, and I was right. That's not me being like, wow, I'm a genius. It's like, that's how intuitive the mechanic is. I really hope we see time travel again in a regular Magic set. it would have been great in Time Spiral. Gavin pointed out in his article that he tried to make it work for time, age, and lore counters.
Oh.
Which I think isn't that great, but the play pattern was really bad.
Oh. Repeating sagas or something?
Yeah, so having your sagas keep like triggering the same chapter again and again and again is really boring. And having it work with cumulative upkeep doesn't really mean anything. It's a really lovely idea, but you play with it and you realize it's not worth it.
Yeah,
so it's just time counters.
It costs space on the cards, yeah.
Yeah.
So what do we do with time counters? We've got suspend cards, so we can come off suspend faster.
Yeah, you can make your suspended cards faster. You can keep your vanishing cards around longer.
Yeah, and they made up a couple new cards that just happen to care about time counters, yeah.
Yeah, it's like the rug from the Big Lebowski. It ties the room together. I love it. Something that's very flavorful, but isn't going to add a ton of complexity to the game and is easily reusable.
I don't know about the complexity of the game. If I need to have time counters matter, I'm talking about a reasonably complex environment. Maybe this mechanic reads straightforward, but I don't know. Juggling multiple suspended things, vanishing things with a bunch of counters on them.
The mechanic itself is just it's like proliferate, but like specified a certain kind of counter
and can like go backwards or forwards.
I mean, the board complexity can be crazy, but I mean the mechanic itself.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and so time travel is such a big resonant theme that there is a temptation to think about making a big mechanic and to condense that into such a simple, like elegant mechanic like that. Yeah. Okay, do you see what I mean?
I can respect, like, for this product, I don't know that much about the specific doctors, but it's like if we want something time travel-y, this is a way to get time travel, the words on a card. Have it the rules for time travel be like not something that needs like a new definition in the rule book.
Yeah. That's such
How do you feel about the potential of this specific card? Do you think you're going to be able to storm out and triple time travel with this?
I hope so. There's a part of me that goes, what could you do with a ridiculous thing like that?
You need an outlet for
what does suspend
for the time counters?
Does suspend count for storm?
If it comes off of suspend, then it would count.
Oh, if it comes off of suspend, it counts.
But then you sort of have a new problem, which is like all my stuff is already off suspend, so it doesn't have counters on it anymore.
Yeah, I was thinking I was wondering if suspending counted as for the storm, and therefore you could suspend a bunch of things and then storm off the thing. No. You know,
I guess like maybe it lets you sort of like bring a couple really cheap things off suspend a new like Gargadon or something that's huge, and then time travel a couple times. But
the thing about storm is if you're building a deck that can pull off storm, I feel like you play one of the cards that wins you the game because of storm.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deck that wants to play this looks like, but sometimes I also think part of the fun is a card that makes you want to try and build a deck around it. That's sort of got a puzzle built in. I tried to make it an EDH deck built around the Hedron network card.
Sure, that you need a bunch of copies of it.
Yeah. And I used the silver boarded card, the guy that has no name.
Okay.
To be one of the cards. You can do it anywhere. So you can give him the name of the Hedron thing in any zone you want.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is one of those cards where it doesn't really work and you want to try and make it work. I love, of all the time travel cards, this is the one that I thought was just... I love that it's just the chaos of time travel. Like everything's just gone wrong.
Yeah, you got goofy flavor, goofy card name. It does something probably. We also just got a preview for the Fallout decks that come out like next year, which has like a 4-mana storm card that proliferates. That feels like
I saw that.
A little more straightforward than this time travel. Yeah, Radstorm.
Yeah, I don't know what you would do with this, but it'd be fun working it out.
Casual storm.
Yeah. Okay. We got Missy. Missy is the 12th master. So the master is the villain.
Oh,
is like the Moriarty of to Sherlock for Doctor. It's an evil Time Lord. Missy is short for Mistress. So the Master regenerated into the Mistress. She's brilliant. The final season of the 12th Doctor, she's in almost every episode, and she has a sort of redemption story arc to her character.
Okay.
Which is, again, why I was surprised that the finale to that is the Mondasian Cybermen episode, and it's not as referenced as I would have thought. These Cybermen are not the Mondasian ones. This is from her first appearance against the 12th Doctor.
She's like literally dancing on someone's grave here, too.
Yeah. The plan of this character was that she said that the significant tactical weakness of the human race is that the dead outnumber the living. So she turns all the dead into Cybermen. And that's why the card does what it does. Whenever a non-artifact creature dies, it comes back under your control, face down, as a 2/2 Cyberman. So she just turns everything that dies into Cybermen. Which is very specific to that one. She's in so many episodes, and they very much picked this episode to. I loved her final appearance. That I would have probably focused on that, but I understand why they picked this. It was a really great storyline. And then she has at the beginning of your end step, each opponent faces a villainous choice. Each artifact creature you control deals 1 damage to that opponent, or you draw a card, and chaos ensues. And Missy causing chaos is perfect. Of course, that's what she does. Okay, so now, next thing is you've picked some cards that you have no idea what they're doing.
I just picked some goofball ones. We don't have to go as deep into... I don't think I picked any major story characters, but maybe I did accidentally. One of them here is Adipose Offering. This is, I would say, a little goofball.
Adipose Offspring.
Oh, sorry.
Not offering. It's an offspring. This is like a little alien baby thing.
He's kind of walking towards you. Yeah, it's like a little egg baby with arms and legs.
Yeah.
There are a couple of them there. Adipose is fat, right? So I'm guessing that this is sort of like people are being turned into little fat monsters.
Yeah.
Is this a good episode or a bad episode? Maybe that's how we should do these weird art cards.
So, if I remember this episode correctly, I don't think I didn't enjoy this episode.
All right.
It's just a weird alien thing that eats that is made out of fat and like it just multiplies. I can't. Here's the thing. I think I've seen this episode and I can't really remember it.
All right. Yeah, there's like 1,000 episodes or something. So.
Yeah.
Our next one here is for Inspiring Refrain.
Yeah.
This is some true goofball, like, what did the prop maker want to make today kind of stuff. These are like a bunch of humanoid. They're all wearing like black coat, black gloves, black whatever. But they have like squid Cthulhu heads. And then they have like a cord coming from maybe their neck going into like a ball that is either hovering or they're holding in their hand. Like maybe an external heart or something like that. Are these aliens cool or not cool?
They're called the Ood.
The Ood?
The Ood.
Okay.
2 O's and a D, the Ood. And they speak through those balls are like translators.
Oh.
If I remember. So their voices come through their voices come through the thing and it glows when they speak.
Looks like we got Saturn in the background or something like that. What's their deal?
So they're on, I think, the Impossible Planet, I think is the episode name.
Okay.
And they sing, which is, I believe, what they're doing here.
Yeah,
singing.
Inspiring Refrain.
Yeah.
Good episode, bad episode. Give us a thumbs up or thumbs down.
So I think people really like this episode. I'm not a fan of this episode. The Ood show up in a couple of episodes.
Oh, okay.
One of the most famous things about the Ood is one of them gives the 10th Doctor a prophecy of their death, of the Doctor's death. The prophecy is he will knock 4 times.
Okay.
The Master, the 10th Doctor's Master, had this thing in his head called the drums. He kept hearing drumming in his head, and the drums were 4 knocks.
So the Ood were correct.
So they dropped this clue very early on, and then you meet the Master later, and he's got the drumming in his head, and people were like, wait a minute, the 4 knocks, it's the Master. And of course, double bluff, it wasn't the Master, it was the Doctor's companion who gets locked inside like a death trap basically, and they are. And what happens is the Doctor beats the Master. He thinks he's won, and then he hears knock, 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 and it's his companion trapped in a room.
Oh.
If he lets him out of the room, he'll die.
Oh, okay.
It's a nice little moment. So, but that's what the Ood are very famous for, and they have their song of the Ood, and so on.
So the Ood maybe passed the vibe continuity check. They were popular enough the first time that they got brought back, despite being like kind of nonsense.
Yeah, they got brought back very quickly.
Oh, okay. So it's pre-planned. Okay.
I think they've shown up since. They are people do like the Ood. I actually think the Ood. They're weird, but they're kind of cool in their. Well, not cool, but they're fun. They've got the vibe check going on.
Let's be clear, they're not cool, but they are kind of fun. All right, our next one up here is the Beast, Deathless Prince, which basically just sounds like Satan. This is a big creature who starts with a bunch of stun counters on it. It sort of act of treason someone's. It grabs a creature, and then each time a creature hits its owner, it loses some stun counters, and you draw a card. So this is like threaten the commander.
It's from the Satan Pit. This is
the Satan Pit. That's the name of a pit.
Yeah.
Is this a cool episode or a not cool episode?
I believe it's the same episode as the Ood episode.
Oh, okay.
If I remember correctly, it's funny because the cards you've picked all come from the 10th Doctor. As much as I like David Tennant and I liked some of his episodes, as a whole, I saw a lot of his episodes once and I went Pigmen from Manhattan and just forgot them. Maybe
this is the old Hercules show where the first season they had all the budget and had 1 million cool monsters. Then they slashed the budget and had to go to like all humans for future episodes. So the 11th Doctor, you like those characters more, but they pop less to me as I'm scanning a list of images.
Yeah, I also feel like these characters are painted and therefore do not have a budget, and they did not look like this in the show.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember the Beast
they didn't look
this
quite
good
this
in the show.
Okay.
I think the CGI was not as great.
Then the last one I got here, I actually have learned a little bit just recording this episode about what's going on. But this one's called the Master, Multiply. There are multiple cards called the Master, and I guess Missy, I guess, would count too.
Yeah.
6 mana for a 4/3 with Myriad. Legend rule doesn't apply, so it doesn't kill itself with Myriad. And then triggered abilities you control can't cause you to sacrifice or exile creature tokens you control.
Yeah.
So your Myriad things last forever.
This is the 10th Master. This is the 10th again.
4 for 4.
Not only is it 4 for 4, this is from the episode of the 4 Knocks. So I think you're about to kill the Doctor now.
Wow.
Like I
am the Master.
You totally nailed it. In this storyline, the Master makes a machine that turns every human on Earth into a copy of himself. And this is the one with the 4 drums going on in his head and everything.
Alrighty.
This man, I don't know how nerdy you want me to get into this, but John Sim played the Master.
Okay.
And it was a huge deal. There was a TV show at the time called Life on Mars, and he was the star of this show, and it was everywhere. Everyone loved it.
He was a good guy?
He was a good guy. He was the cop, and everyone loved it. And back then, there was a lot of secrecy around Doctor Who. He was announced as being in Doctor Who as a new character called Mr. Saxon. People were like, Mr. Saxon, that's an interesting name. And then some people were going, hold on a minute. That is an anagram for Master Number 6, which is he'd be the 6th person to play the Master, right? And I was like, like that. And then one of the cast members from Life on Mars was being interviewed. And they go, is there another season of Life on Mars coming? And he goes, I don't know. I guess it depends when John's finished being the Master.
Uh-oh, they leaked it.
Just like that. I was like, so he's the Master then. So the whole build-up of is he or isn't he the Master got revealed.
Rip.
The funny thing about it was he took the job. He's supposed to. At that time he was considered a very serious actor.
Yeah.
Life on Mars was like, it was a tour de force of his acting skill, and he was talking about how it was a goofy premise, but he was taking it very real and playing the characters in a very real way, and it was very resonant. People loved it. And he's playing the Master, and he did it because his kids like Doctor Who.
Oh, okay.
And he shows up, and they kill him when they show up, and it's obvious because the Master dies and gets regenerated. And it's clear they killed him because they thought there is no way he will ever come back and do this again. We locked into getting this guy. And he did it, and that was it. He's done. And then someone in an interview is asking him, hey, are you ever going to come back as the Master? They killed you off. Are you actually coming back? Or is he going to regenerate into someone else? And he goes, oh, no, I'll come back. I love doing it. And suddenly he came back 2 more times. Because everyone expected that he wouldn't want to do this goofball kid show. And he loved it. He loved being the Master.
Like an Aragorn kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
They got him casted because the kids wanted to, and he's like, it's kind of fun to throw a dwarf.
Yeah, loves it. So he's come back. I wonder if he'll come back again.
All right, maybe I need to watch specifically this episode because I picked out 3 cards that are from this plot line.
Well, from this plot line, yeah, they're not. They're from different episodes, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
The fact that you picked 4 cards about the 10th Doctor and it plays into the 4 knocks is crazy that you did this.
Yeah, but my wife loves Good Omens, so maybe I was just absorbing the David Tennant energy.
Maybe you were. But this card, the actual Master card multiplied, I really love this card. I love Myriad. I think Myriad's a great mechanic. And the fact that he turns everyone into himself.
I was sketching out a commander deck for this. This was my pick for like maybe building a deck. The 6 mana kind of got to me in terms of playability.
Yeah.
So you'd have to work really hard or do something really abusive with it to make that with his preventing sacrifice thing.
Well, I mean, it's funny that you think about that stuff. I don't care about power levels so much.
Yeah, my commander mentality is I like to build like a budget deck, like a $50-$60 deck, but then have it like work, like have it like really be functional.
Yeah. So my feeling is, I want it. If I play a card, I want that card. Like if it's supposed to be the finisher, I want it to be able to finish games. Like it should be able to do what it does. I don't mind if it's a little expensive. And my view of it, I feel, is because people I would play Magic with have a similar sensibility. They don't mind playing weaker cards as long as they do the fun thing.
Yeah. You also had a little roundup of some of the reprints. You wanted to start off with one that you had maybe a bone to pick, and then we got a couple that you actually thought were pretty cool.
Yeah, I like reprints for Universes Beyond, particularly that either they're such home runs that you go, I can't believe this was a card prior to this. Like, how is that possible? Like the Blazing Torch thing, where Blazing Torch was in the file for the original Innistrad. The devs were going, can we change the numbers on this to this? I think it would work better. And then someone had to remind them it was a reprint. Yeah. Because it's so perfect to fit. We
don't know if we want the vampires to be vulnerable to fire, I think was the...
Yeah. I believe you're right. I think it was that. And it's like, this is a reprint. We can't change it. But though that's such a high standard, it's not fair to hold every reprint to that, right? But that's what you hope for. Otherwise, there's a kind of translation kind of reprint where you take something that's fundamental to the game and then you reprint it, and we accept that it's not 1-for-1, but we get why. Like, very few Magic sets actually have islands in them.
Yeah.
Right? But we appreciate, we get it. So like the TARDIS console is the command tower. Oh yeah, we get it. That makes sense. If you're porting this and skinning this into Magic, that makes sense. My issue with the talismans, first of all, they're a stretch to call a bow tie a talisman.
Yeah, we're looking at Talisman of Conviction here, which is, this is a 2-mana artifact that can also tap for colorless mana if it hurts you.
Yeah, and the bow tie being cool is just like the Doctor, the 11th is bow ties are cool. He ends up wearing a fez in one episode. Fezzes are cool. Like he does that. He's adorable. Calling it Talisman of Conviction is a bit of a stretch. Yeah. But what drives me crazy about it is the fact that it deals damage to you, and that just makes no sense. I don't understand. There's nothing. It being a mana rock is a stretch, but it being a mana rock that hurts you. No, I can't get behind this. These reprints really wind me up. It makes no sense. And I get why they wanted the talismans. They wanted the mana rocks in there. They needed some certain mana rocks to fit this thing.
A bunch of them are worth like $3 or $4, so they help get the value of the deck up a little bit.
Exactly, and so on. And they can't make new mana rocks because that would be a real problem for the format. Here was my fix. In the set, there's sonic screwdrivers that tap for any color of mana. Okay? And famously, the Doctor had a bunch of these screwdrivers. Every Doctor has their own unique screwdriver because there's a toy for every screwdriver, right? Every Doctor gets their own screwdriver toy. I have the 11th screwdriver. I have one.
All right.
Yeah. I want to try and retrofit it into a laser pointer so I can use it for lectures and things. In the set, there's the sonic screwdrivers. They cost, I think, 3 mana. They tap for any color of mana, and they have a couple of other weird abilities that fit the flavor of the screwdriver. What I would have done is I would have said, look, instead of having sonic screwdriver, have the 10th Doctor's screwdriver. It taps for red and blue, okay, instead of any color. And then its mana cost is the monocolor hybrid. So 2 colorless or 1 red, 2 colorless or 1 blue.
Sure.
And that way, that card really isn't going to break Commander because you haven't created a bunch of new 2 cost mana rocks. Because it's not going to always cost 2. Sometimes it'll cost 3, sometimes it'll cost 4.
It costs between 2 and 4 mana, yeah.
Exactly. And you would have been able to do them for every deck. You would have had the 10th screwdriver, you would have had the 12th sonic sunglasses and all that stuff, right? And you've got the laser screwdriver for the master. So every deck could have had their mana rocks in those colors. The other impetus they had was they wanted to make cards for the scarf, the bow tie, the fez, the sunglasses, the 3D glasses, and all the other fun little weird costume choices. The little bit of celery that the 5th Doctor wears on his.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, he wears celery. All these weird little things. And what I would have said is make them a token like clues. So accessory token, right? And you sack them to put a counter on a permanent of a kind already there. And so the joke is I gave my Hydra a scarf, right? And it's a +1/+1 counter. I gave my Planeswalker a bow tie. It's a loyalty counter. I put charge counters on this. And I think that would have been a nice simple token mechanic, and you could have made a few cards that give you accessory tokens.
Well, it's certainly fair to say that that's less simple than what they did.
It's less. Yeah, you're right. It's less simple than just having mana rocks. But I think a little accessory token, would have been a little bit of extra complexity. It would have done what you want the bow ties to do. And then, if you really still needed these talismans, you could have found something else, I think. But a bow tie dealing damage to me and giving me, I just can't get behind it. Reprints like this drive me crazy. When the flavor is left hanging from a reprint, so to me, I don't know why this card exists.
Yeah, let's get a couple more of these.
Yeah,
we had some good notes here. You picked out ones that you thought were a good fit.
Oh yeah,
Blasphemous Act, the big board wipe. What's the moment here?
That storyline here is the Master killing Gallifrey, which is the home planet of the Doctor.
Oh, I didn't know they had a home planet. Okay.
Gallifrey, and he basically kills all the Time Lords, and it's very much so. The flavor text here says, "I had to make them pay for what I discovered. They lied to us, the founding fathers of Gallifrey. Everything we were told was a lie." He basically finds out the origin of the Time Lords, and the story they're told is a lie. He finds out what really created the Time Lords. And so the blasphemous act that's being portrayed here is not only his destruction of Gallifrey, but kind of the fact that it's an attack on the fake sort of propaganda, religious propaganda of their culture.
Feels like a very anime moment to me, like discovering, the church was evil. Okay.
Well, not only that, the church was evil. So the blasphemy is not only him, but also them. So it's a double, and it's great. He just wipes everything.
So my mind's a little bit blown. I didn't know that Time Lords came from a different planet. Is this like a Krypton Superman thing where like everyone on that planet are like all regenerating super people?
Well, vibe continuity. The Time Lords are on a planet called Gallifrey. Not everyone on Gallifrey is a Time Lord.
Oh, okay.
And
Are there
Time Lords,
hundreds of Time Lords? How many Time Lords?
yes, there's loads
Okay.
and loads of Time
Okay.
Lords.
Okay.
They have a hierarchy, and so there's like soldiers in the Time Lord army, and do they regenerate? I believe so, and it's always
Oh,
been sort of shrouded in mystery
sure.
as to
Okay.
what's going on. There's a whole thing of like we don't know the Doctor's real name. We don't really know what the Doctor's up to before the first Doctor. Like we don't really have when we see the first Doctor, he's in his 60s, he's an old man. We don't actually know his backstory. It's never really been fully explored, like what his parents are like. Did he have what were his parents? Who were they?
Yeah.
And all this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of mystery behind it, and the 13th Doctor, I think, really. I mean, I love what they did with it. They kind of went and delved into the Time Lord's origins and explained it in a way that made sense of a lot of contradictory information
Okay.
about them. Because there's a lot of different things that lots of different writers doing the vibe
Yes.
check sort of kept and threw away.
Peak vibe continuity there. Yeah. Let's tie in a bunch of retcon stuff from 40 years ago. Yeah.
And they went back and they just went like, if I do this, everything
Yeah.
that's been said about them is kind of true and not true at the same time. It explains something about the Doctor, reveals some of it, but then creates a whole new mystery to be thrown in. So it reminds me of when they revealed Wolverine's name in the comics.
Oh, okay.
It was like this huge thing. How dare you? Wolverine's a man of mystery. You're not allowed to ever know
Oh,
where he
okay.
came from. And then they went, this is ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
we can't. We
We got to
can't
write comics.
we can't be scared to reveal who Wolverine
Yeah. Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And so the trick with that is if you're going to take something away, you have to replace it with something. Otherwise, people will feel like you've taken away their favorite thing. So the mystery element of who the Doctor is and how Gallifreyans became Time Lords and all that gets revealed, but a whole new mystery is put in place. And I thought that was really nicely done. I think the Timeless Child is a really brilliant addition to the canon. But then, as someone who came new to Doctor Who, I'm probably performing a blasphemous act of my
Oh,
own,
okay.
saying that. But I thought it was really well done. I really
All right, our
liked
next
it.
one here, you got this one seems a little simpler. Past in Flames.
Yeah.
This is like a big flashback card. Lets you recast stuff from your flashback. Looks like a bunch of TARDISes crashing into each other or something. This
This is to
abstract.
do with the Pandorica episode. It
Pandorica. Oh,
starts
okay.
off with River having a picture of Vincent Van Gogh by Vincent Van Gogh, and he's painted this picture of the TARDIS exploding.
All right.
I just love it because Past in Flames is a perfect name for this thing. Like, there's no reason to make a Past in Flames reprint in a Doctor Who set. There's no reason to make a Doctor Who card of this particular painting, but it's such a wonderful fit. It feels really perfect for this.
Yeah, you had like a cool art moment that is fun to put on there. Yeah.
I love this episode of the Pandorica, and I never would have considered doing this.
Maybe we'll see it in every Commander deck because it was in the Warhammer ones too.
Yeah, maybe that's why it was on their radar. They'd seen it.
As like a gameplay wise, Past in Flames, I think, would probably be most famous as like a sort of stormy sort of card, like a worst to Yawgmoth's will kind of thing. The ability to just like turbo storm off. In the middle zone, like a more casual deck, it's not very good. But when you go all the way to precon level, you've got, your 15 turn game. You've got 2 sorceries you could flash back. You could do it again on a future turn. It gives you something to do, and it works well enough in that kind of deck, no matter what the circumstances of the game are.
Yeah, and it's red, so chances are your sorcery is hopefully some kind of finisher, right? Or a removal spell.
All right, your last reprint here. Oh, go ahead.
Swords to Plowshares. I remember this card back in the old times when I was playing Revised.
Jesus-looking dude with a scythe,
So, Swords to Plowshares, this is actually... It's a Doctor... So, yes, it is from a Doctor Who episode. It's from a Christmas special. But it's referencing a real-world event. I don't know if you know about this event.
Yeah, the French, Huh? Wasn't it like a World War II, like French and German people? Am I thinking of a different war event? Okay. All right.
Yeah, no, World War One, it's a very famous thing in England. About in world because we used to travel, we used to do field trips, and one of the field trips we would do is we'd go to France and we'd go to the Battle of the Somme. And you'd go on a whole thing about the field, what happened, what it was like on the Battle of the Somme, and we have all these war museums because it was right on our doorstep. World War One. In World War One, on Christmas Day in one of the years, in no man's land, where literally people are just a few meters away from each other, shooting each other to death in trenches and machine gunning each other and bombing people. And it was called no man's land because if you were in it, you were going to die. It was just this patch of land no one could advance over because of the constant shelling. On Christmas, they stopped and played football. And there's a Doctor Who episode where the Doctor encounters a soldier in World War One, and he's in one of those shelled out craters in the trenches, and he and a German officer are both in the crater with their guns pointed at each other, and they can't understand each other, and they're about to shoot each other. And this is the day this British soldier dies, and the Doctor shows up, and like time is frozen for a minute because of stuff that's going on. And this soldier gets out of the crater and meets the Doctor and gets taken on an adventure with the Doctor. And when the Doctor comes back, he fiddles with time and puts him back in the crater, but just before they all play football. So he lives.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was a French movie. That's what it got me confused. Joyeux Noël or something.
Oh, right.
I can't pronounce
it's
French things.
But this was a real thing that happened, and they just
about that real thing.
Yeah. And what I love about it was they didn't make the Doctor cause it. You know, they didn't have the Doctor be the reason the football thing happened. They did a lovely thing where the Doctor just sort of like moves this guy just like I think a few hours in time so that he isn't shot dead, and instead they play football and he survives.
Yeah.
And so Swords to Plowshares, using that as a reference to that actual historical thing, I find that really touching, to be honest. To make that historical event Swords to Plowshares, it makes me wonder if they could do more real history cards. But I think this is kind of touching without being insulting to the living history of World War One, and it's a Doctor Who reference.
Some handshakes, people meeting each other. You don't see the figures that clearly, so you're not like re-exposing people to like uniforms and stuff.
I think it's a very touching card. Last thing is the 13th Doctor, who I adore.
Yeah, we've heard a little bit about.
Yeah, so the 13th Doctor, she's a 2/2, green, blue, and one generic. And she's got Paradox. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And then Team TARDIS. At the beginning of your end step, untap each creature you control with a counter on it. Remember what I was saying about how she's all about her fam?
The team, yeah.
Yeah, so she's got the team, and she buffs her team and protects her team. And I was saying about pacifists being in a game about fighting. It doesn't make sense that she's making everyone super strong and then making it so you can attack and block. That doesn't make sense, right? But it's a magic, and it's a game of combat, and you get that she's protecting her fam and building up her fam and inspiring her fam.
Yeah.
That makes sense. The one criticism I have is I don't like ability words.
Oh, you don't like the flavor words or whatever? Yeah.
I don't think they do what they're supposed to do. Normally, when you have a keyword mechanic, the reminder text is the bit that's the same all the time. And if there's variables, it's it's very clear: flashback and a cost, afflict and a number. But with ability words, what happens is the variable is buried in a bunch of text that's always the same, and so you end up having to reread it again and again and again.
I know it's different. Yeah.
Ability words become more interesting and creative and create new design space if they're turned into proper keywords. I was looking at Paradox, and I just thought, okay, shouldn't it be whenever you cause a paradox effect, or if you caused a paradox this turn effect? So a paradox. So what would be a paradox? And this is something fun that maybe people will want to.
Oh, you're adding more than just what it does. Okay.
Yeah. So what would be a paradox? What constitutes a paradox? Well, that's like a batching keyword, and I couldn't quite work out what the batch should be. So I'm kind of going to open this up to everyone. But here's what I came up with. I came up with a list of 5 possible things that could be in the batch.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I don't know what 3 you'd pick, but okay. So one of them is clearly cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand. Another one should be phasing permanence in. That feels like a paradox, right?
All right.
And the last one, okay. I don't think it's possible, but I thought if you've gone infinite.
Okay.
If you go infinite, you've caused a paradox. The problem I had was, hold on a minute. If you go infinite an infinite number of times. So
yeah,
like you can't. I don't think the game can recognize that you've gone infinite.
That's like a classic computer science problem. Yeah, it's not knowing when something is. Yeah.
But you can understand what I mean. Like, so the 13th Doctor, say this was the batch, it would be whenever you cause a paradox, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So she would do that whenever you cast a spell from anywhere than your hand, you phase a permanent in, or you've gone infinite. I think that would be very evocative.
Didn't you have 5? What were your other 2?
So the other 2, again, I don't know which ones to pick.
We're just brainstorming.
End the turn outside of the end step.
Okay.
And the last one is is taking an extra turn or an extra phase or an extra step. Like it felt to me that the phrase "cause a paradox" feels like you've done something the game engine isn't supposed to deal with. Right? You've done something that is breaking a fundamental rule of the game. So casting a spell from anywhere other than your hand and phasing permanence in, that feels totally fine and reasonable. The rules can handle it. They make sense together. The third one started getting really you've caused a real paradox. Like the game can't count that you've gone infinite. The game
You're kind of taking it from the game mechanics point of view rather than the flavor point of view.
Yeah, like what would be a paradox for the game?
Because I think like paradox to this like 13th Doctor is like casting a spell from the past.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Casting a spell from the past, from the X
which is like flashback or suspend or whatever, which is not that exciting to a Magic player and not a paradox to a Magic player, but a paradox to normal reality.
But as one part of a batch, I think that would be a perfect. I think that's a perfect condition for a batch.
Your vision is that we're going to create a category like protection that has like a whole bunch of different circumstances that are all.
No, it's a batch. It's a batch. It's like historic. It's a batch. It's just a batch of actions as opposed to a batch of traits.
I think on a spectrum, I would put historic on one end, protection in the middle, and your paradox past protection in terms of what you have to learn as a Magic player to interact with this game.
Well, you wouldn't have to learn it. It would just say it. It would just be
you don't have enough room on the card.
That's true. That's true.
They didn't really have enough room to do protection a lot of times.
No, they didn't.
I like it though. I like the attempt and I like the spirit of it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like the fact is, paradox. The way it's done is you can have a card that says if you've cast a spell from any other hand, do this, right? And that would still have the paradox keyword.
Yeah.
And so the fact that it's the Chroma had this problem as well when it was just so variable. It didn't mean anything.
Didn't mean much,
Yeah, so I think ability words they should be keywords, and I think even if it was just paradox hyphen +1/+1 counter on target creature brackets, this triggers whenever you cast a spell from anywhere within your hand. I think that would have been better than this. It's really it's more a templating issue than a.
Yeah, I kind of understand the problem here where you're burying the effect.
Yeah,
the first 2/3 of the text that you read for paradox. You shouldn't be reading, but you have to read it, and you actually have to read it closer than normal, like your original point. Yeah. I think the solution that I've kind of liked is maybe either try to like put parentheses or italics on that repeated text so that the text still exists there.
Interesting.
But I guess italics already means like does not have rules meaning, so maybe you need like some other like bold or something to signify that.
Yeah, you put bold on the effect so that that's always clear. But it basically, like, reminder text is like a drop down menu for a paper game.
You mean like hovering over something?
Yeah, so when you hover over something in a game to see what the text is, well, in a paper you can't do that. So the reminder text works the same way. It's invisible if you don't need to see it. And for ability words, that's not the case. It's one of the things that drove me crazy with the werewolves of Innistrad, where they all had the same transform mechanic, but I didn't know that because they were all written out, and I would read them again and again to remind myself, A, what the mechanic did, and B, that this one does the exact same transform as the other one.
And it even takes a little like game design restraint to not have like two cool ones that work a different way.
Yeah.
You have to tell everyone, I'm looking at you. If you try to make one werewolf work differently, you're out of here.
Yeah, it's I think when cards do the same thing again and again and again, and you don't keyword it and you make people read all through it, people start expecting things to play differently. So I think ability words, I couldn't find in all my attempts, I couldn't find an example where the ability word did something that couldn't be replicated with a keyword.
Well, we actually got the showdown on this card between ability words and flavor words. We've got Paradox at the top.
Yeah.
Which appears on like 10 cards. And then we've got Team TARDIS, which I think only appears on this card. Which one do you like more? Confusing. Which one are you picking?
Oh, no, I absolutely am fine with ability, with flavor words like that, like Team TARDIS.
Oh, okay. So Team TARDIS, you think you're naming an ability that adds some flavor. You're cool with that?
My personal favorite way of doing these flavor words is when it's either part of a choice, choose one, and then you name the choices. I think that's really great. The only people who get ability words, flavor words in the Doctor set are, I think, the Doctors and maybe the Master or something. No one else gets them. And for me, I'm like, okay, that's something special they get, and you kind of pick up on it. But when you've got a character like this, who has both, and there's no indication there's a distinction between these two things.
Yeah.
I mean, if Team TARDIS were an ability word, what is the thing that it's referring to? Is it the fact that untap each creature you control with a counter on it? Is that what it would be referring to? Or is it because it triggers at the beginning of your end step?
I would say it's each creature you control is what it means. If it had to be.
Yeah, right. It could be. Yeah, there's no way to know, right? So I think Team TARDIS is okay. I can live with that. Paradox, I'm not. I wish that was a mechanic.
So that's about it, I think, for our Doctor Who jaunt.
Yeah. All space and time.
Yeah, and our podcast for the week. Hop on the Discord. We have obviously a lot of conversation topics from this episode that I want people to chime in about. Batches. What is a paradox?
I want people to chime in what a paradox is. I'm curious. I feel like there's a really good answer for it, and I don't know what it is.
I want to know, what's your favorite goofball card from this set, not as a Doctor Who fan, if there are any people who haven't watched Doctor Who. And then we'll all find out they're from what is it, the 10th Doctor?
Yeah, put the card image of the card that you want me to explain, and I will tell you.
Oh, okay.
I think I saw that episode. I can't remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure.
Good or bad episode, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you put that in there, and my response will obviously be, I don't know, I can't remember it. It probably was a David Tennant episode. I'm an expert on the Doctor. Right.
All right, and thanks for coming on. Anything you want to tell people about before we get out of here? All righty.
No. I am a writer. I consult on people's writing, and I help people with their stories. So if anyone wants a consult, or they want a workshop where I teach them something about writing, or they want me to write something, or they can always contact me about that. If I have time and I can help, I will.
All righty. And so you're on Discord.
It's my name. Yeah, it's always, I use my name. Wherever I go, it's going to be my name, so it's very easy to find me.
I've been doing that too. I think like on Xbox, I'm still like Artillery or something like that, but most places I've just been doing my name these days.
On Xbox, I'm still Captain Smash Fist.
Oh, there we go. Is that true?
No.
Oh.
I'm not on Xbox at all.
I got really excited that your Xbox name was Captain Smash Fist. I was really going to have a lot of respect for that.
No, my name wherever I go is just my name.
All right. And thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you so much for having me on again.